Live from Cool Boys Central.
You can be the boss down there. I'm boss up here.
Hold your dicks and rub your tits.
You'll be ice cold.
Here come the Cool Boys.
Just a young boy.
So cool.
So cool.
So cool.
I see cool boys.
Music.
Were you drunk?
I just had a couple cocktails and a couple beers too downstairs.
I've had a couple cocks.
Well, I gotta say, just as a heads up, my audio is a little weird tonight because I'm actually traveling. I'm doing this from a hotel room in Dallas, Texas.
Spread eagle, by the way.
What?
You're spread eagle, by the way, just to let the viewers know.
I'm spread eagle?
You know what I'm talking about. I see that dick. I see that ball sack. It's in my face. Thrusting. Oh, yes.
Shove that dick in there. So I'm in Dallas, Texas, recording this. So I apologize now to our audience listeners for any issues with my audio. Sorry, not sorry.
Sounds like you're 10 feet up an ass, Felk's ass.
Greetings, Cool Boys Nation, and welcome to the Cool Boys Podcast. Tonight we have a special update from the last episode in which we discussed hot asses. There was recently a horrific incident in which a fantastic ass belonging to Molly Cavalli was bitten by a great white shark, also known as a lemon shark. Also, even though the event was a staged event, sort of where they were having her dive with sharks in a shitty shark cage. This was picked up. I saw it on TMZ. It was picked up on Variety, a bunch of different sites. There was every single comment section on has a couple people saying this looks fake. I think it's fake. You watched the video, right?
Yeah, no, there's nothing fake about how superficial she is from a tiny bite on her ankle and how she's freaking the fuck out. Any hot chick like that would immediately freak out from any damage done to their body at all because that's their livelihood. I think it's 100% legit, and holy shit, I felt bad for her, but it wasn't that bad of a cut, fortunately. She got an okay bite. Yeah,
well, allegedly she had stitches done, so unless that's also part of the fake story, the fact that she got rushed to the hospital when they got back to the shore.
I believe it, because she was bleeding pretty badly.
Yeah, so unless that was also faked, and she's actually a really good actress, which I don't believe for a second, because she's a porn star named Molly Cavalli. I think it was real, and people do get like little bites in shark cages all the time. I think it's not that uncommon, and yeah, so as a porn actress, she does indeed have a great ass. Unfortunately, she's only done girl scenes. She has not put that ass to its full potential. But I like the
and just to be clear too, I want to be clear real quick for the audience who doesn't actually know what we're talking about. She was not bit on the ass; she was bit on her foot.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
So her ass is still beautiful and intact.
Yeah, the ass thing only really comes from the fact that we were discussing girls with great asses last episode, and she has a really nice one.
She does. You know what? You turned me on to her because I had no idea who she was until that. And once I saw that video, I thought to myself before she got attacked by the shark, I was like, holy shit, she's fucking like gorgeous and has a great body. I don't know how much of her body's really great, but that swimsuit was amazing.
Well, that's the thing is you see the great ass before you see the great white shark. That's a lemon shark biter ass, which is her foot. Very confusing. But you see her ass in the video, and it looks just top notch. And unfortunately, she's deformed now because she has a mild scar on her foot.
She's so fucking deformed now.
Who would want her?
Yeah, nobody. Well, I think that's pretty crazy. I wish this happened a week earlier so we could have had it in our episode about hotties with bodies and sweet asses. So no, let's get into updates. Have you done anything recently?
No, we watched Guardians a couple days ago, and since then I've just been living life, man. Nothing really to update you on.
Ballard, what did you watch this weekend or week?
Well, I think one of the things that has been pretty consistent with this podcast and myself on the updates is that it's not necessarily been my intention at all, but I've been kind of discussing mostly what my kids have been watching. And I think that's something I'm probably going to continue doing. And when there's something that's actually pertinent or something that I really like that I've watched that's more adult, I will discuss that. But I kind of like the idea of going back and kind of looking at things that kids watch today and what I used to watch as a kid and showing my kids and kind of giving the reactions. Well, so one of the things that I watched since we last recorded was this movie that was nominated for Best Animated Film this last Academy Awards, the 89th Academy Awards. And it's called The Red Turtle. So I put on The Red Turtle for my kids, and it starts off, and it's a guy in the middle of the ocean, shipwrecked. But you don't see the ship. You don't know how he's shipwrecked. You just see a guy out in the middle of the ocean struggling in a storm. He eventually makes his way to the shore, and he has to, of an island, a deserted island, very small island, very similar to Castaway. The story is about this guy on the island. What happens is he takes a bunch of bamboo and builds a raft. He gets out into the, deep out into the water, into the ocean, and all of a sudden something hits the raft and hits it again and then breaks the raft. And when he looks underwater, because he falls into the water, he can't find anything in the water. So he swims back to shore, builds another raft, goes back out. Again, something hits the raft underneath, and the raft is destroyed. He goes underwater, and he cannot see what's attacking him. And he's freaking out because he thinks it's some kind of like sea monster, or like a shark. And he ends up getting a red giant sea turtle behind him. He sees it, he like kind of swims back to shore. Oh, wow. And he hates this, and so he hates this red turtle, this red sea turtle. And previous nights he had a bunch of hatchling baby sea turtles that just freshly hatched from their eggs run out to the sea. They do it at nighttime so they're not attacked by the birds. And that was great for my kids because they didn't have to see baby sea turtles being eaten by birds. Anyways, so the guy eventually, after the third attempt, goes back to the shore and he's really pissed off. And he goes up to this like mountainside, just like in Castaway. And he's like looking down at everything. And then he sees all of a sudden the red sea turtle come onto shore. And he runs back into the bamboo forest, comes out with a giant stick of bamboo. And at this point, my kids are both sitting next to me watching the movie. I'm thinking to myself, oh, this isn't going to turn out well. And he just takes that bamboo and breaks it on the red turtle's head. And I'm just like, I was like, whoa, oh, that was really mean. And my kids are just like, what the fuck's going on here, Dad? And then he flips the red turtle over onto its back and then jumps on its softer shell for a bit. He then leaves it baking in the sun on its back, and it dies. And at that point, I stopped the movie for my kids. I'm just like, we're done. We're done watching this movie. I can't watch this movie with you guys anymore. It's broken. The movie's broken. Sorry, the movie's broken. That's what I always tell the kids when I stop them in the middle of a movie. I say, the movie's broken. When I don't want them to watch anything else.
What was the concern?
Anyways,
what was the concern? Why did you think the turtle dying was too...
No, I'll get there. I'll get there. Oh, just because they like sea turtles, and then seeing a guy just like beat the hell out of a sea turtle was like kind of intense for them, because for them, sea turtles are Finding Nemo and Finding Dory. They're like these cool, funny characters that are like surfers.
They're potheads. They're pothead turtles.
Right. So afterwards, later that night, I ended up watching it on my own. Yeah. So I could kind of figure out where the movie goes and if it's worth the kids like to follow through with it. Because a lot of times I don't like to stop movies for the kids, because what happens is if a really terrible scene shows up in the movie, sometimes if you stop the movie, then for the kid, that scene is how the movie is. And that's how the movie ends.
E.T.'s dead. And you're like, oh, I can't show the kids this. Stop the movie. And as far as they know, E.T. just dies at the end of E.T.
Right. So you have to show them the full movie a lot of the time. So that's my thing. I tell the kids that. I'm like, let's wait to the end of the movie. Let's see how it turns out. Well, this movie was one of those movies I hadn't seen yet, The Red Turtle. And I just was like, I have to stop it. So anyways, when I started it again, I watched it. And that's the stuff where, the hand and he touches her fin, or touches the fin, turns into a woman. And then he puts a canopy over her. Anyways, she eventually comes out. She doesn't talk. And they like fall in love, and then he fucks her, and they have a kid. Fast forward, this old man growing old and with this woman who is this red turtle and dying. And then when he dies, she touches his hand, and then she transforms back into a red turtle, and she returns to the ocean. And what's great is that I was watching that, I was like, wait, did he just fuck a fucking sea turtle? Like, is that what this movie's about? Is him fucking a sea turtle? Like, this woman was a sea turtle the whole fucking time? This is a terrible movie. How was this nominated for fucking Best Animated Film?
Then he takes his cock out and he fucks the turtle.
So yeah, that was the wonderful French-Japanese story of the red turtle. Have you watched anything this week?
Just to clarify, no one French had anything to do with that movie. It was a
French director.
no. He was Dutch British.
Oh, you're right. He's Dutch.
No one French.
He was born
You-
in the Netherlands.
You racist. Japanese, Dutch, British turtle fucking movie.
It is. It's a turtle fucking movie.
Yeah.
It's a movie that's pro sea turtle fucking.
Yeah.
All right, Felk. What did you watch this week?
Finished watching season 2 of DC's Legends of Tomorrow, which just came to Netflix not too long ago, and it's out of whack with the other ones. We're still missing the second season of Supergirl, 5th of Arrow, and 3rd of Flash, which will run concurrent to the second season of Legends of Tomorrow. So I got the crossover events, like missing piece of the puzzle, so it's super confusing. So like Netflix needs to get on fucking board and figure out how to like for shows that are multiple crossing over, figure out a way for me, Netflix, so that I can watch those and have it make sense, rather than watching one season and then watching another season of a different show and having like the different pieces not fucking fitting together. It's one show spoils the ending of another show. Like I get.
So you know what? They should do it like how South Park and shows used to do it when they had VHSs and DVDs. They should release like an episode that's or its own like Netflix, almost show that's like the special. It's all 4 episodes together, and you watch them, episode 1 through 4.
No. I mean Netflix. That would be the CW doing that. Really. I mean Netflix needs to create playlists.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Like a 4-show playlist. That's just that crossover event, and then like last year, a 3-show playlist that was between Flash and Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow. That would have been a 3-show playlist.
They could do a playlist that is just the crossover events, but I prefer a playlist for the entirety of the shows, the entire every season, so it gives you all of the first 2 seasons of Arrow, and then when Flash comes on, I think that was season 3. It starts like it gives you an episode of Flash, then an episode of Arrow, then an episode of Flash, and then by the time they're all like Supergirl's in there, they give that in there as well, and in basically every episode of a connected universe in the order they aired, so it makes freaking sense.
Yeah, that would be great. I actually do that on my own.
Yeah, but it takes research.
It does, but I do that on my own. I actually create playlists in my iTunes for my movies, and so I actually have like a bunch of movie playlists or TV show playlists where I have things like specifically lined up where it's in chronological order of not how it aired or how it was released, but in chronological order of how the films or the TV shows function. And I love watching it that way. And I totally agree with you. Netflix should create something like that. I really wish.
Why don't they have playlists for episodes? Why is that a feature?
Why can't you build a playlist? Why can't you build your own Netflix playlist? Like customize it.
It seems like such a no-brainer, and especially I get that they fight with their own connected universe. It's like just watch the first season of Daredevil, then I guess the second season of Daredevil, then Jessica Jones, then Luke Cage, then Iron Fist. It's like they're like
kind of.
We just want you to watch our full seasons in order, and then you watch Defenders. But like for shows that air like TV, like they could make a playlist like that for what other connected universes are on Netflix? All of Buffy and all of Angel are on Netflix. So like work that out, because that was the same thing where like an episode of Buffy would happen, and then an episode of that's all.
The Bruce Timm's Justice League. I mean, you could put in Batman Beyond, Justice League Unlimited, and well,
it doesn't go. It doesn't go from one episode to another, because each show only was airing there was only one show airing at a time in the Bruce Timm verse, except for that fucking Static Shock that nobody watched. Fuck Static Shock.
There was the episode of Batman Beyond that ties in with the episodes of Justice League Unlimited.
I thought you hadn't watched Batman Beyond.
I haven't, but you told me this.
Yeah, but that was still.
I finally got to that Justice League Unlimited episode where Batman Beyond shows up, actually, and it was kind of interesting.
Yeah,
it made me want to rewatch it.
That episode is not good. I don't like that episode.
But it made me want to watch Batman Beyond.
Yeah, I do not like what it did to. Well, I guess
Terry.
Spoilers. Yeah, like fuck that. That never had been implied that Terry had anything to do with Bruce Wayne outside of the first time they met. I really did not like retconning that. That was fucking really weird. I don't know why they did that.
Yeah, that's right. Because so that version of Bruce Wayne then ended up meeting Terry McGinnis before
He's a half clone of him,
Batman
basically.
Beyond.
Yeah, I really did not like that.
But even Batman even comments on that. He's like, this Batman, or the older Bruce right here, he doesn't even remember this time we met. So obviously all of this is happening in some form of controlled time paradox.
Yeah, that was one of my least favorite things about that they ever did in the Bruce Timm version. This, as far as I'm concerned, the last episode of Batman Beyond wraps up the story perfectly.
Oh, good. Okay, great. I can't wait because that's one of the biggest issues with Justice League, how it ended. It just ends with Hawk Girl bouncing. And then that's also how Batman ends. Batman just ends. Batman the Animated Series just literally ends. It's just a serial episode.
They probably thought they were going to have another season and got canceled.
Yeah, I think they got canceled, but I think it was not only just canceled. I think they just realized they're moving Batman into Justice League and end it.
Well, speaking of Batman and other weird ass Japanese things, let's move on to our Cool Boys show topic.
Report preliminary findings.
Not worried about her. We gotta keep him gagged.
Cool Boy Nation, pop your cocks and drop your tops.
It might be interesting and important for you to know.
It's time for our Cool Boy show topic.
Hey, I like that.
Spoilers.
No sweat.
So cool.
So tonight's show topic is the weird ass Japanese game franchises that we respectively love, why we love them, and what we love about them. And
what we hate about the others.
Yes, and what we hate about the opposings. And the game franchises that each of us have selected. For me, I have picked the eponymous Souls series, also known as the From Software series. That includes the Souls games, but also Bloodborne. Nolan, you've picked
Metal Gear Solid Saga.
Which
Is it a saga? I think it's a saga.
Saga. Isn't it Saga?
Wikipedia just calls the series Metal Gear, and there's a distinction between Metal Gear and Metal Gear Solid that we'll go into.
I'm not going to talk about the Metal Gear.
Well, funny enough, Metal Gear is something I actually played back in the day.
Then Ballard can take those.
It's a top-down tank game, right? It's nothing.
This is, for the most part.
And Ballard, what weird Japanese game franchise have you selected to talk about?
Nothing.
No, say it.
So there isn't really a Japanese weird game I like. I only like Uncharted, GTA. Last of Us isn't a franchise yet, but I love Last of Us. Can't wait for that sequel that will come out. And Jaws Unleashed.
Fuck yeah. Explain to the listeners what Jaws Unleashed is.
Oh, please do.
Jaws Unleashed is taking a page out of Grand Theft Auto, in which you can be the shark, Jaws.
Yep.
Jaws himself. Now, here's where the video game is incredible. You start off Jaws in an aquarium, and you have to get out of this aquarium-like water park.
Yeah, it's SeaWorld.
And the SeaWorld practically, yeah. But it's SeaWorld in everything but name.
Well, is it specifically the sea park from Jaws 3?
I don't think it is, but I wouldn't be surprised if I was wrong.
That'd be a little too advanced for Jaws Unleashed developers to have done that much research.
Well, technically, Jaws Unleashed is supposed to be, I think, like the fifth Jaws story after Jaws the Revenge, or Jaws Revenge, Jaws 4 Revenge.
And what system was this on?
I think this was on PS2, right? And
Microsoft Windows, Xbox, and PS2.
The PS2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so Jaws Unleashed.
I know because I have the game for PC, just in case. So
Wait, you have Jaws Unleashed for PC?
Yep.
You've been holding this information from us forever. Withholding.
Way too long.
Because I never fired it up.
So, have I ever been to your apartment while you've had Jaws Unleashed?
No.
Okay, good. Well, then we're all good. So, anyways, the very first thing you have to do to get out of the sea park or the water park, the aquarium.
Wait, I've been to your apartment when you had Jaws Unleashed because you had it on PS2 on disc still.
That's right. I probably had it on when you showed up.
You still own it. I'm assuming it's right behind you.
No, I got rid of all my PS2 stuff, unfortunately.
He brought it to the hotel just in case you wanted to play Jaws Unleashed.
It's there in Dallas.
I always plug in the PS2 when I'm on the road. Get some Unleashed in. But yeah, so the very first thing you have to do, get back to the very beginning of this statement. One of the first things you have to do is fight a boss, and the boss is the killer whale, an orca. And then once you do that, you have free reign to circling the island, that Amity Island, and you can just eat whatever you want that's in the water. You can eat the seals, you can eat the fish, you can eat dolphins, you can eat the people, you can attack the boats. I never got past the second boss. I never fought the second boss. I just got caught up swimming around the island, eating people on the beaches, and then eating people off of boats.
Yeah, that's classic Ballard.
And then in the background, where you hit your, the wall, the invisible wall in the game in the ocean, all you can see out in the distance of the deep blue sea are like these giant whales, but you can't ever get to them. And all I ever wanted to do was get to the whales and fucking eat them. And I was so upset, and I kept like wishing there was like a Game Genie hack where I could, or Game Shark hack. That would actually get me to the fucking whales, and it never happened. So I gave up on the game eventually.
How many rim jobs would you give it out of 5?
Oh, dude, at least 10 out of 5.
Rimmies.
So what fascinates me is the GTA series is famous for all the mechanics and all the things you can do. But when people think about what they do in GTA, it's mostly stealing cars. You can get into any car, drive your car around. You can listen to the radio in the car. You buy guns. You shoot the guns. It's mostly driving and shooting guns. 2 things that sharks are known for doing all the time. So why wouldn't you adapt that to a shark game? I mean, it just fits so perfectly. I watch Let's Plays of it, and the key thing that I love is that it has mission like objectives. Like, how would the shark be getting those mission objectives?
Jaws needs some missions, man.
Yeah, you got to eat 5 seals to upgrade or whatever.
Yes, to upgrade.
What do you upgrade?
Upgrade
do you
your
upgrade
shark.
your fins? Oh, really?
Speed, bite
could-
strength, that kind of thing. Damage, vitality.
Nice.
So Nolan, let's move on to the actually Japanese and actually weird. Well, not that Jaws isn't weird, but actually weird games that we're talking about. Because I have only played one Metal Gear Solid game, and that's Metal Gear Solid 5. And
yes, which in my opinion is one of the worst.
And we'll get into that definitely. But what is the first? So, like, if you look at the actual Metal Gear list on Wikipedia, it's there's like 20 games. So when you think of Metal Gear, what games are you actually thinking of?
Well, I'm not going to count Metal Gear or Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake on the Nintendo or Famicom, whatever. We'll start at Metal Gear Solid. Imagine a time when your games consisted of Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon.
Oh, Spyro.
And imagine this game comes out that has a complete 15-hour narrative, crazy backstories, crazy cinematics, crazy everything, crazy gameplay, your stealth gameplay. When the fuck did that exist, like, at that time?
It didn't, especially with a cardboard box.
It didn't. But what mainly changed the landscape of game, I think it changed the landscape of games, is that it had just such an it had such an intense story that no game at that time had anything even close to it.
So the first Metal Gear Solid had cutscenes, even on the PS1.
Oh, many cutscenes, which I know you're a fan of. For the listeners out there, Felk used to fast forward through cutscenes in games because story did not matter.
I'd press X to skip.
That always upset me, by the way, because somebody spent hours, Felk, hours working on that shit. Days.
Okay,
weeks.
yeah. That started really for me skipping cutscenes with GTA 4 because there was just so many of, hey, Nico, let's do this. Nico. Fucking Nico talking was too much. Every mission had to have a 5-minute cutscene. I'm like, just tell me where to drive and do the thing. And it wasn't until
They picked up on that and got rid of that eventually for 5.
I hadn't really known anyone until I think you who played a Metal Gear. And of course, so when we were working together in chit-chatting, this is shortly after the introduction of the PS3 to the world. And I think you bought the PS3 to play Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yes, at this time, I think the Xbox 360 was out for a while. I already was knee-deep in it, and Metal Gear Solid 4 was coming out, and I had to buy the system just to play it.
Yeah. And you like that one. I guess we're skipping over 2 and 3, but
no, we don't. No. We can go back. I don't want to spend too much time on everything. I just what makes them great is not only do they have a great story and great gameplay, but they're known for their epic boss battles, their crazy characters. It's just the whole package. What are you doing over there? Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Edit. Okay. Yeah.
Well, that was what turned me off from playing, because I had a PS3 right before you, and I bought it because I wasn't buying a 360. I was a hardcore Apple guy at the time, so I was like, I'm not buying a Microsoft product. I'm buying a PlayStation. What am I going to buy? A Zune?
Yes, exactly.
So I waited for the PS3 until it like price dropped to 400, and the first game that I played on the PS3, arguably the greatest game on the PS3 of all time, Resistance: The Fall of Man.
Oh yeah, you love your Resistance.
I did. I think it's a really good franchise. But when
Nathan Hale,
when Metal Gear Solid 4 came out, and you loved it, obviously. The first thing I looked up is that it had like 2-hour cut scenes plural.
Yes,
like,
so four is very overindulgent. There's a ton of fan service. It's kind of like the prequels for George Lucas. He like tries to hit every single character and give them some sort of like backstory. He tries to bring everyone that's been in the previous 3 games back. But if you're a diehard fan, you love it, and it's not as gay as Attack of the Clones or Phantom Menace. What's happening over there?
You do fight something named like Crying Wolf or something. I was like, all the names in this, like Liquid Ocelot, Naked Snake. I'm like, why are all the names in this so gay and ridiculous?
Look, if I told you the villain of 4, you'd shit your pants. So it's
a big boss, right? I thought.
No, the villain of 4 is a character from Metal Gear Solid 1 who you chopped off his hand. Well, he replaces his hand with the main villain of Metal Gear Solid 1, who happens to be your clone brother, and now that clone brother hand has taken over that guy's body. and he is now the main boss, and he wants to kill you again and take over the world.
What's his name?
So it's Liquid Snake and Revolver Ocelot combined to be Liquid Ocelot? I don't even remember. It's very confusing.
In preparation for this, I did ask the only other person I know who is a huge Metal Gear Solid fan, a coworker, what his favorite Metal Gear game was, because I was mentioning that I would be discussing it soon on the podcast, and he said Metal Gear Solid. Portable Ops, the one on the PSP. I'm guessing you never played the PSP version.
No, I actually played. Is it Peace Walker?
Peace Walker. Yeah.
So I think Peace Walker is a piece of shit.
How'd you play it?
Because it came out in the Metal Gear Solid HD collection, which was the PS1, 2, and 3 games on the PS4.
Okay.
So I played it. It definitely plays like a handheld piece of shit game. They got rid of like the cinematics and just kind of did a comic book style art, page flipping with voice acting.
Yeah, okay. So that's not really you like the cinematics, huh?
That's when they changed the whole structure of the game. It no longer was a linear narrative. They turned it into what you played, 5, where you got to pick your missions and go out and do stuff. And they were very short. That introduced the pontooning. Was that what it was called?
Oh yeah, that was my favorite thing about 5.
Yeah, no, that was fun. And so portable
Fultoning.
Peace Walker is. Some people think it's like the best one. It's a total change of direction for me. I don't like it. That's one of the reasons I don't really like 5. They just got rid of the story and the push to keep going forward and finish this Snake guy's journey.
You know what? I didn't realize while looking at the Metal Gear chronology, I played a little bit of Metal Gear as a kid, and then as a teenager, I played a little bit of Metal Gear Solid. My little brother played Metal Gear Solid a lot, so I watched him play Metal Gear Solid a lot. So that's the only Metal Gear Solid I've ever seen, like from start to finish, is Metal Gear Solid, the first one. But just looking at the chronology right now, I didn't realize that they started it in 1964. I don't mean when the game was developed. I mean the plot.
Yeah,
the timeline. It was 1964 for Snake Eater.
That's Metal Gear Solid 3. Yeah, it's the prequel. It's your dad.
Clone Dad, you mean?
Clone Dad.
Okay.
Peace Walker's 1974. Ground Zeroes is 1975. I didn't realize so much Metal Gear Solid took place in the 70s. And then the Phantom Pain is 1984. Metal Gear 1995. And then Metal Gear Solid 2 with Solid Snake is 1999. The Metal Gear Solid, the one I watched my little brother play, was 2005. So Metal Gear Solid 2 takes place well before Metal Gear Solid. Yeah, and then Sons of Liberty is 2007, 2009, and then Guns of the Patriots 2014, and then Revengeance is 2018.
Jesus
so that's just
Christ.
crazy.
Well, I mean that's not even beginning. Like just a real line from the Wikipedia plot description. A third Snake brother, known as Solidus Snake, is introduced as the United States president at the end of Metal Gear Solid and serves as the main antagonist of Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty. Another line: at the end of the game, Ocelot seemingly becomes possessed by Liquid Snake as the nanomachines from Liquid Snake's arm, which Ocelot took to replace his own arm after Gray Fox slices it off in Metal Gear Solid, worked their way into Ocelot's thought process. What the fuck?
They are created by a mad genius who has no editor. What he needed was an editor. He's a fucking brilliant man, but as he's gotten older, like George Lucas, every game has progressively kind of gotten worse for me. That's not entirely true because I thought 4 was amazing, but 5 was just like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Literally, because Felk played this during 5. He didn't know how to finish the game, so you replay like 15 levels in a row on a harder difficulty.
I think he didn't finish the game; that he was just cut off.
Yeah,
basically,
the story doesn't even have anything to do with this, but you just have to start replaying missions. It doesn't make any sense. The way the game ended for me was coming up next on Metal Gear, and it just had like a bunch of disparate like cutscenes, and then I was like forced to replay missions, and I was playing it. I was playing at the same time as you were, and I think I texted you, and you were like, "Yeah, it looks like Quiet's going to get into some trouble," and I'm like, "I never saw that cutscene because I had to replay all these missions that were the same ones that I already played, but they're harder because like you can't bring any guns or you can't." Yeah,
you can't get caught.
So, the gameplay in 5 is phenomenal. It's probably the best in the series. All the stuff you can do is amazing because some of the games were top down. Even the one on PlayStation 1 was a top down game. So being over the shoulder, classic GTA style it suited the game well. But as far as the characters, Quiet was the only thing reminiscent of an old Metal Gear game. Kind of this mysterious character you wanted to know more about, you wanted to help, you wanted to play with. But everything else, man, the villain was fucking terrible. The way the story like progressed was terrible. I checked out. I thought it was like a really bad game. Very huge disappointment for me.
The villain.
Wait, Noli, I'm confused, Noli. So wait, you said this? You're talking about Quiet? Which one's that? I don't see that in the.
Oh, it's a character from Metal Gear Solid 5. It's
Quiet.
a female. Oh, she's the one. She's the scantily clad woman that we sometimes send pictures of.
Oh, that's who that chick is?
Yeah, she's a sniper.
She's hot.
Yeah, she only speaks in moans and singing.
So I looked up this creator because you said he was a genius, and his name is Hideo Kojima. And
yes, I've researched this man now.
Well, it looks like he only works on Metal Gear Solid. He hasn't done anything at all.
Well, he's got a new game called Death Stranding.
Yeah, with Mads Mikkelsen and the guy from Walking Dead,
Norman Reedus.
Yeah.
And he's buddies with Guillermo del Toro, who's helping him on this game, and is also an actor in the game.
So something happened with 5. He got like fired during the middle of it for some reason. So that's why the game kind of doesn't end because he didn't finish it, and so the game just came out. Konami was like, just release the fucking game, and so the game came out, and that's why we got like an unfinished game. And it doesn't do it for me. Gameplay wise, it's like one of the best gameplay wise games you can play. Story wise, it's fucking up there with Super Mario Brothers 1. It's like,
and that's Peace Walker.
There's no story. No, it's 5.
Yeah, 5 is Peace Walker. That's 5.
No, 5 is the Phantom Pain.
Yeah, Phantom Pain. Well, it's Ground Zeroes and the Phantom Pain because 5 is released in 2 parts, basically.
Yeah, Ground Zeroes is the prequel, which is phenomenal.
It was pretty good.
Franchise is insane.
It was pretty good. Well, can you just clarify?
If I had to recommend one for anyone, if you played Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, it's a Cold War espionage game. Very straightforward, very simple. He doesn't rely on he doesn't have to tie all the loose ends up of his previous games. It's just a straight prequel. Very simple story. You're a spy. Go kill someone. Get the fuck out.
Which is the one that had him like super old, and it was like the whole like trailer for it was like in the desert.
That was 4.
That was 4. Okay.
4 is the best. One of the best final battles ever in a video game. Do
you honestly think that David Hayter's performance as Snake is good?
No, it's very campy. Okay. And here's another reason I was disappointed with 5 was they hired Kiefer Sutherland to do it. And he did a fine job. But I was like, why would you change the voice? Because it's the same character. So I was convinced that it was going to be a Solid Snake versus Big Boss game, which is son versus father. And that's why they're going to have 2 voices so it didn't confuse you. And Hayter never shows up.
That wouldn't be confusing at all.
Yeah. Hayden never shows up. Kiefer Sutherland's hired for whatever fucking reason. I don't know. I mean, he did an adequate job, but it's just weird.
That was Konami saying, because I mean, they fired Hayter, and then like during the development of the game, they fired Kojima. What happens to a toad when it gets struck by lightning?
He wrote that line.
I know.
No, we didn't.
He's the writer of X-Men.
He did. He's explained.
That fucking line.
He wrote that line, and he's explained that line. He explained that there was Toad was like constantly taunting people, like, you know what happens to a toad when something happens? It bounces back because it's fine, because toads are awesome. There was like a running theme of Toad taunting people with like, you know what happens to a toad. So then when Storm says that line, it makes sense. But they had to cut out all those other like scenes, or maybe they never shot them. For some reason, they just left in the one that doesn't make any sense, which is Storm.
They had to, because it was his death line, right?
Yeah.
It was the line that she says when she kills him. So
Anyway, I don't want to talk too much more about Metal Gear Solid. I will just say, I guess, in my opinion,
two more questions.
Okay. Go ahead and ask your questions, and let's get on with it.
Okay, so at one point, a game was coming out called Metal Gear Revengeance, and I asked, like, "Oh, are you excited about that? Because I know you love the games." And you said, "No, Raiden's a fag." who is Raiden, and why is he a fag?
So in Metal Gear Solid 2, you're playing as Snake. In the first hour, you're on a ship in New York to stop a Metal Gear, and the boat blows up, sinks, whatever. The game starts back up again, and now you're this mysterious character named Raiden. So that was like the big twist, is you thought you were buying this Solid Snake Metal Gear Solid 2 game, but no, you're fucking this gay guy Raiden with blonde, long hair, very skinny, very nasally voice, very flamboyant, very feminine looking.
Bait and switch.
Bait and switched me, fucking stuck a dick up my ass. And so Revengeance is like a side game where it's like a hack and slash style game. I'd never played it. I never will. I don't really care.
Raiden's got great tits and an amazing ass.
He's a man.
He shouldn't have tits.
I think I'm looking at some fan art then.
We're going to talk about some tits soon, because tits are a prominent feature in the games.
Yes, lots of tits. Okay, next question.
Okay, so tits in Metal Gear Solid. That's my next question now. It wasn't originally. But obviously, so Quiet is obviously, I'm going to say, the hottest girl that I've seen, because the further back you go, the more they're just polygons. Quiet is based on an actress named Stephanie Joost, I believe. And if you actually Google the actual girl it's based on, her face looks exactly like Quiet. But her tits are like B cups, and Quiet's tits are like D cups. So Kojima obviously really liked this girl, and maybe it's her real like humming that's the voice, but he just said, you know, when we digitally make her, let's just give her more tits. What other like scantily clad hot chicks are there in Metal Gear Solid?
Going back, every game there's scantily hot chicks in Eva, your sidekick in Metal Gear Solid 3.
She's the one with the jumpsuit that's always unzipped.
Yeah, her tits are always out. She rides a motorcycle. She's very sexy.
Dude, if you Google Quiet, you would see photos that you like, oh, that can't. There's no way. She's a professional sniper. There's no way she dresses like that in the game. That's clearly fan art. Nope, that's how she dresses in the game.
She needs to be wearing a ghillie suit because, I mean, she's quite exposed. I mean, you would see her a mile away with that pale porcelain skin.
There is an in-game reason why she's dressed like that.
Because it's super hot and distracts the bad guys?
No, because she's half plant. She breathes through her skin, so she has to be dressed like a slut in order to breathe. Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
You're somewhere similar. Yeah, you're pretty close.
That makes no fucking sense at all.
Nanomachines.
Here's what doesn't make any sense is so the bosses in Metal Gear Solid 4 are in these big robotic beast type transformer type deals, and when you blow them up, the women come out of the I guess exosuit, but they're like they're animals. They're animals.
What is a Metal Gear?
A Metal Gear is a robot that contains a nuclear missile launcher on its back. It has machine guns and all sorts of crazy shit. So when you defeat these bosses in 4, the female inside is exposed, and they are in really tight bodysuits. Their boobs jingle, and they try to attack you by hugging you. So they're they're slowly approaching you while you have to either shoot them or trank them before they get close enough, because if they get close enough, they will hug you to death.
Wow. Okay. Well, I actually really enjoyed as a newbie Metal Gear Solid 5, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that the cutscenes were relatively short. What I loved about it was that like it would go like really serious, like cutscenes and storylines about like having experienced war, having shell shock, having like your arm lost, and like with the horrors of war, and then the next scene would you be fighting a psychokinetic pyromancer who throws like a whale that's made of fire at you, and then the next scene would be like the plight of child soldiers in Africa, and like a realistic depiction of like trying to liberate a bunch of child soldiers in Africa. And then the next scene, a half naked sniper would take a shower with you because you came back from too many missions without taking a shower, and you triggered a cutscene where she showers with you because you smell bad. All real things in the game.
You know, Gods of War does not sound as perverted after hearing shit like this.
No, Gods of War is a lot more tonally consistent.
God of War
is great because the very first thing you do is you fuck 2 girls, right?
Oh yeah, God of War is amazing.
That's like your very first mission.
There's a
fuck 2 women.
cutscene early on in all of the games except for 3, which puts it like halfway through the game.
Oh, I love those cutscenes. I would just make the whole house shake. Oh, Kratos. Oh, Remy bottom me out.
I played the PSP games. After I got my Vita, and the sex mini game in the first PSP game is like just an orgy where girls are just piling on top of you.
Yeah,
and I was playing that on my Vita at the DMV, and there was an elderly Chinese woman who kept looking at my Vita as I was playing, and I just like, yep, that's what I'm doing.
Oh my. So anyway, I'll wrap up Metal Gear. I don't want to get too much more into it. There's much better sites or stories of people that really love it that you can go look at. I do really love it, but I would say, in my opinion, 1 and 3 are right there at the top. 3 might be better, but 1 was the first one, so we'll put it there. Then I'll put 4.
Are you ranking?
Okay. Yeah, I'll put 4. 4 would be the best, except for one last 30-minute cutscene completely destroys the story. But that one was hot. Then I'll do 2, which I think is fucking awful story-wise, and that's the one with Gaiden. I don't like that one. And then I'll put 5 just because it just starts off so strong and the gameplay is good, but then just so disappointing. But I mean, yes, there's nanomachines, there's hands, there's telepathic people communicating.
God damn it.
Ballard licking his armpit right now.
Why?
So let's go on to another Japanese game that I have questions about.
Oh, please
Dark
do. I would love it if you
Souls.
interviewed me. I was kind of nervous about where I'd go because you had a lot of focused opinions on Metal Gear.
No, my question with Dark Souls is, so you started backwards. You went Bloodborne, then the rest of them, right?
Well, that's not that abnormal because Bloodborne was absolutely designed to bring in an audience that had avoided Dark Souls games or Souls games because of their notorious difficulty and because they hyped it up. It was the first Souls game I played was actually Demon Souls because it was free for PlayStation Plus, and I gave it a try and it spent about 30 minutes into it before. Like, fuck, I have no idea what to do, and this game is clearly going to kill me constantly. Why would I play this? And I never thought about it again because Bloodborne was marketed as it's faster, it's a little more fluid, a little easier to understand, and more kinetic. I gave it a shot, and at the time I was pretty much buying every PS4 game I can get my hands on. Played it for 2 hours, got my ass kicked, and said no thank you, and never played it. It was like, I'm never going to play it again. And then that bothered me.
I think that's when I talked to you, and I was just like, okay, I'm not going to buy it. And then like 2 months later, you were like knee deep in shit in Bloodborne.
So I looked it up. I looked up online, like, what am I doing wrong? Because I was out of blood vials, and I was like, how am I ever supposed to do anything? It's like, just do the circuit once, stock up on your blood vials, which is your health. And make it to the first boss, and then you can start grinding and upgrade your guy. And I was like, I had to play the Bloodborne the first time, kind of checking a guide periodically to have any idea of what to do, because the whole thing about Souls games is they don't tell you shit.
Wait, Felk, I need some clarification because I actually don't know anything about the Dark Souls games, the Soul series, and Bloodborne. That is a Souls game, or is that not a Souls game?
Very good question. So,
oh, really?
So I'll take you through it real fast.
Is there a main protagonist?
No, your protagonist is you. You name your character, you pick male or female, and you pick your like starting class, which you can modify through your skill set. But there is you're not like you don't play Joe Bloodborne. Or Kevin Soul.
Love those names. Those are great names.
I like those names. Those should be like action hero names.
Kevin Souls.
Whatever you
striking
can
a
also
pose.
like the customization features. Like you can totally customize your face down to like an absurd level. Like you can eyebrow thickness and width and everything is customizable, and then you appear as that in your cutscenes. But no, how many games are there? So it really starts in earnest with Demon Souls. Just like Metal Gear, the Soul series also has an insane Japanese man who's in charge of them, named, and Ballard, you're better with Japanese names. Hidetaka Miyazaki is how I'm going to pronounce it. And he came to the series. From Software had already made the Kingsfield games, which I played on Kingsfield 2, which was released as Kingsfield on the PlayStation. And that game was like, what the fuck? This game doesn't tell you anything. It's super hard. Has really nothing to do with the Soul series outside of its difficulty and the fact that it's set in like medieval times. Demons. So the Soul series is Demon Souls, PS3 game, which was an exclusive. Dark Souls, which was different than Demon Souls only because it was on Xbox and PS3 and PC, so it had to be legally distinct, but it's basically a sequel. Then Dark Souls 2, which Miyazaki wasn't a part of in any way and was made with other people. And most people, even though it's called Dark Souls 2, think it's not really a Dark Souls game. And I agree, because he was busy working on Bloodborne, which is the PS4 exclusive, and then went back to the Soul series for Dark Souls 3, which is the best Dark Souls in my opinion.
Did Dark Souls 3 come out after Bloodborne?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So Dark Souls 2 has two versions. The original Dark Souls 2, which was released on PC, Xbox 360, and PS3. And then right after Bloodborne, like a fucking month after it, they released the upgraded PS4 version, which has barely PS4 graphics. It looks like a PS3 game. But it's called Dark Souls 2,
Scholar of the First Sin.
Which, so Dark Souls base
That's a
version.
gay name.
Dark Souls base version is considered the easiest Souls game. Dark Souls Scholar of the First Sin is considered by far the hardest Souls game. It's really, they reworked it and they put like in-game bosses like early on in the game. The path that you're supposed to take, they block by a huge ass dragon for no fucking reason. They just made it hard.
Yeah, I think that's my whole problem with why I don't play these games is I've heard how fucking hard they are, and they're just hard for no reason. It's like in GTA and the old ones, we used to die at the very end of a mission. It's like, oh, fuck you. You have to go back to the point where you have to go buy your guns again, and you have to go to drive to the place and select the mission, and then, hey, then you have to go there, and let's hope you fucking beat it this time, or you'll have to do it all fucking again. That's kind of what I hear. The Dark Souls games are like.
That's true for Bloodborne only. So that was the thing that you complained about was the idea that you can use up all your health and be out of it, and you have to like go back and restock up your resources.
Yeah,
that's
I don't
only
have fucking
Bloodborne.
time to do that.
That's only Bloodborne. In the Souls games, you have like a flask, which is your health, and that restocks every time you die. The reason why they did that for what they did for Bloodborne, and it's a very controversial change, going from health that completely restocks every time you die versus a consumable resource that you can stock up on, but you can also run out of in Bloodborne, is because if you run out and can't do what you're supposed to do, that's the game basically like forcing you to grind. The problem is that dumb people will grind only for blood vials. They'll go and like kill people because every person you kill gives you currency, which is called souls. Or in Bloodborne, it's called blood echoes, even though everyone calls them souls, because it's the exact same thing. That's the key about Bloodborne, is that there's all kinds of mechanics that are the exact same as the Soul series that are just renamed something else. Because Bloodborne is now a PlayStation exclusive, so a lot of its things are called different things because they're named differently. But like idiots will only get blood vials for grinding when you really should be just stocking up on those and upgrading your character. You don't lose everything in your character every time you die. Your upgrades, as long as you get back to a safe spot, they're called like bonfires. You can upgrade your
bonfires,
or lanterns in Bloodborne. You can upgrade your character and get stronger and stronger. And as long as you're getting stronger, as long as you're getting those souls or blood echoes back to the safe spot, the nexus or the hunter's dream, depending on game. You can upgrade your guy, and the game's difficulty is determined by how much or how little you're willing to upgrade your character. Because you can over upgrade your character, and then the game's easy as fuck.
So does.
This is a terrible sounding game, Felk, to me at least.
Yeah,
where's the aircraft? Where's my guns? Where's my cars I can drive fast on LA roads?
There are guns in Bloodborne.
So does Joe Bloodborne or Kevin Souls, do they have a story? Because what I've heard is like the game just throws you in. It's like, hey, let's go kill some shit. But like, do you know what you're doing? Like, it sounds like you don't know what you're doing.
Okay, no. So there's 3 distinct stories. Demon Souls is isolated. Then the true Dark Souls games have the first and third one have kind of a story, and the second one's its own story, and then Bloodborne has its own story. And the story
is the story even
it's not in the game.
Even Destiny caliber, where there's like just a hint of an idea and like go off and grind.
Not even it's tough to explain it, but basically there's probably about 10 minutes of cutscene total per game, and most of those cutscenes are badass, like the bosses introduced as like monsters, so they require no outside information.
Right. Monsters? What do you mean monsters? Like just a generic monster? Do you mean like
look up
Universal
Dark Souls
monsters?
monsters?
Yeah,
just Google Dark Souls
huge
monsters. Yeah,
huge monsters.
The boss design is what, and just the creatures that the general enemies you face are what makes those games so fucking cool.
See, I think that's where the Japanese still excel, is they realize, like, you know, Nintendo games, you had a boss battle, and Metal Gear is famous for its boss battles, and Bloodborne and Dark Souls games are famous for their boss battles.
Look up Queelag, Ballard. Queeelag. She's my favorite boss from Dark Souls, and I would say my favorite boss from Bloodborne is either Abritus, Daughter of the Cosmos, or I actually really like the Dark Beast Pearl fight. That's a electric monster.
Now, the gameplay in these are just hack and slash, correct?
So the gameplay, Bloodborne is different. In the Souls games, there's basically 3 things you can do at any time. You can attack, you can hold up your shield and block, or you can try to dodge. Bloodborne simplifies that as attack or dodge. You have a gun instead of a shield. So there's no shield. There's like that. That's the technique of the Souls games is always kind of just put up your shield, strafe around the opponent, wait till they're vulnerable, and then attack them. Bloodborne, you can't put up a shield. There's only one shield in the game. It's put in as a joke. So it's all about strafing from a safer distance, getting in real fast, attacking, and then getting to safety. And dodging becomes a much bigger component. You also regain some health when you attack them.
So I just looked up Queelag, and you know she's a pretty hot chick with a giant tumor coming out her pussy. So Dark Souls 2. Why Dark Souls 2 sucks is because there's all these inventive monsters and bosses in Dark Souls, and just brilliant level design. Dark Souls 2 didn't have Miyazaki guiding it, so all the bosses are either just fucking big knights, like big suits of armor, or they're like redos of Dark Souls bosses. Like there's a Queelag version in Dark Souls 2 that's just like a scorpion. Dark Souls 2 is also, because I played the much harder version, going to it from Bloodborne, was like, how the fuck do they possibly expect me to beat this? And I didn't even know like when to use my shield, because that was an entirely new dynamic to me. But then after I played Bloodborne the first time, I played it again, then I played it again and liked it so much that I platinumed it. That was the first, I would say, genuinely difficult game I've ever platinumed. Still, and I'm currently replaying Bloodborne now to do the DLC, which I never got around to. And then after that, I think I'm going to throw myself back into Dark Souls 3, do a new game plus, and play its DLC.
See, I just find that you're like punishing yourself, man. Like these games don't sound that fun to me. When I watch a video, it looks like a fucking grind game. Like there's no like, it looks like an iPhone game. You just play it because you have free time. Like there's no story progressing me further, so I'm not going to be interested in that.
Okay, well, yeah, there is a story to each game. I mean, you can watch 2-3 hour dissertations on YouTube about the like intricate stories of the Souls games and Bloodborne, but watching the game or just playing the games, you'd have no idea. It's all it's vague cutscenes that give a little bit of information. It's item descriptions that tell the histories of characters that you get the items from. You have to piece it together. The story is a puzzle for each one of these games. And
Sounds like Candy Crush.
That's something people really get into. I don't give a shit about the stories in those games at all. I care about the level design, the bosses you're fighting, and the fact that the gameplay is
This
so
is
good.
coming from the guy that used to skip cutscenes.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. I'll go to movies for movies. I'll go to games for gameplay, and the Souls games have perfect gameplay.
And you love your monsters, so it does make sense that you would love these games.
I do love monsters, and in a lot of ways, the closest game that I know you do like that I can compare it to is God of War, because in God of War will give you Kratos up against some fucking huge ass monster, and
like a giant
at the beginning of the game. And you'll
Kratos, his personality, there's a storyline going on. Like, I want to win this fight for Kratos because he's such a fucking cool guy. I love Kratos, dude.
You don't get any of that from Souls. You're playing as you. But whereas Kratos will take you can just mash and he'll just attack and spin his fucking little chains and fuck up that big monster that the game gives you. Souls will do the exact same thing, except it'll have the monster just kick your ass just to remind you that this game is hard, and then it gives you subtly through teaching you, through killing you with smaller bosses, how to fight that first boss, and then you progress. It teaches you by killing you. That's the main theme, is that the difficulty is only there if you're ignorant of why you die each time you die. As long as you're paying attention, it tells you what to do through its punishingness, and you get better. You get good, as people say. Praise the sun, bro.
Okay.
So I have three quick points. Okay, so the 2 quick points about why the Souls games matter to me is because while you can just button mash in most hack and slash games and just slash, it doesn't matter whether or not you're doing anything timed correctly or right. Every time you make you hit the attack button, hit the block button, dodge. You know why you're doing it, and it matters. If it is engaging, because it is giving you a narrow window to do each thing, and you're having to learn as you play which one you should do and read, whether or not you should do that based on the way each enemy and then each boss individually acts and reacts. And the other cool thing about the Souls games is the fact that from start to finish, the levels are an actual like laid out architecture, meaning so halfway through the game you might find a secret passageway that leads you down a hallway, that leads you down a cave to a major ladder, and then it turns out you're right back at the very beginning. Everything is kind of an intricate like maze and puzzle, and if you actually were to lay out that game in 3D space as an actual thing, it all checks out. It is just a crazy web that leads you from the very beginning to the very end. All kinds. It's architecture basically. It's the best level design of any game, and you're constantly exploring and trying to see exactly how far you can go.
Better than Zelda, which is another crazy Japanese franchise.
Heavily inspired by, but yes, better. I mean, that idea perfected.
Because like Bloodborne's it's all dungeons, right? You just go to a dungeon and
there's side dungeons, but no, it's city streets, and the Bloodborne is mostly Victorian, because Bloodborne starts where you're just fighting like villagers and then beasts, and then by the end you're fighting fucking Cthulhu monsters and fucking aliens and stuff. And there is a story that makes sense, but yeah, the final bosses are just straight up like fucking H.P. Lovecraft things.
You seriously fight Cthulhu?
You fight a creature that's a Breedis, daughter of the cosmos, is like very Cthulhu-esque.
Wow.
And the moon presence and Amygdalia.
Do you fuck anything in the Soul games?
No.
Oh.
The character's not there to fuck.
Wasted opportunity, Japanese game designer.
There's some tits, but there's hot chicks, but like her top half's hot, and then her bottom half's like a slug or a scorpion. Okay. So the way I would rate them is Bloodborne as the best. It is my favorite, followed by Dark Souls 3, which is the most Dark Souls gameplay wise like Bloodborne, then the original Dark Souls, then Demon Souls, and then Dark Souls 2.
Could you say the subtitle for the Dark Souls?
Well, for the PS4 upgrade version, the much harder version, it's Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin.
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
Which, if you can avoid playing that version, do, because it's too difficult to be fun. Scholar of the First Sin.
Scholar of the First Sin.
That's the main boss of the DLC content. Is the Scholar of the First Sin. I never played that part.
I'm erect.
Well, speaking of video games, let's move on to some of the finest polygon-filled rendered hotties with bodies.
All systems ready. 3, 2, 1.
I saw him out walking with his girl.
Talking bodies. Yeah. Talking bodies.
Oh, yeah.
As always, Talking Bodies has us discuss the top 3 hotties with bodies from a genre or subcategory. Tonight's is the hottest video game vixens.
Vixens.
Well, I think I would go right off the bat with Chloe from Uncharted 2.
That's your 3?
What?
That's your number 3, or we're just throwing out names?
Well, I don't. Yeah, I'm just throwing out names right now. We can kind of figure out the top 3 later. But I think Chloe was pretty fucking hot. She came in with that super dark hair. Was it blue eyes? Incredible, and an amazing ass. And she has that accent that just makes any man drip so fucking wet all over the place. It was great. I loved it, and then what was the other girl's? Ellie? Not Ellie. That's Last of Us.
No, Elena.
And then there's Elena, and she's hot too. I mean, Elena gets better and better every fucking.
She did. She's got
game.
a lot of facelifts.
You know what? I'm okay with Elena working on her body that way. But you know what? Chloe looked practically the same between 2 and 3.
Yeah, Chloe is everything you said has been on point. She is right there for me. You forgot that she's dangerous.
So dangerous. Danger. She's dangerous. Okay.
Another one I'm going to throw in, not a top 1 or 2, but somewhere in there, is Miranda Lawson from Mass Gay Effect.
Oh.
Because not only is she a shitty character, but she is the face and voice of Yvonne Strasberg, or whatever her name is.
Stratovatsky.
From Dexter and Chuck. And she is hot.
She is hot, but you know what? She's a better blonde than she is a black hair vixen.
But you fuck her.
You fuck her in Mass Effect?
Oh yeah, her boobs are out.
Well, you have the option to.
What?
Yeah. You can also not fuck her.
I think I banged her in Mass Effect 1 and 2. I don't remember because those games suck.
Okay, I don't know if I'm looking at like fan art or not, but I'm seeing like a bunch of like hardcore sex shots with her. Like just getting fucked doggy style, multiple. This has got to be like
it's from the game.
Shit.
It's real shit from the game.
No way. This isn't
Probably.
There's
just a hot chick from Metal Gear called the Boss.
Oh yeah, that's the main villain from 3.
So separate than Big Boss, and she's hot. She's got her tits out, but she's got like a fucking scar going down them.
When you defeat her, you become the big boss. she's the boss. When you defeat her, you're the big boss.
She's hot, but yeah, that scar is just, that scar's kind of hot, actually.
I'm going to say the hottest girl from Metal Gear is undoubtedly Quiet.
Yeah, I got to say Quiet was pretty hot.
Sure. An honorable mention would be Eva from Metal Gear Solid 3. I'm going to toss out Jill Valentine.
Nah. I'm not really into any of the Resident Evil chicks.
Okay. To be ethnic, I'll toss out Alex Vance from Half-Life 2.
She black?
She is black.
Yeah, I like her actually. I like her more than
She was spunky. She was like a Punky Brewster. She was like she could hold her own. That's why she's
I'm not.
She's on my list. She's an honorable mention. I won't say she's on my list. I'm just throwing out my honorable mention. And Triss Marigold from Witcher 3, because it's the only Witcher I played. But God, she had a rack and a voice.
What was that, Trish Marigold, you said?
Yes.
Yeah, Witcher 3 could honestly take the top 10 or top 3 or 4.
There's a lot of naked women in that game.
Yeah, and you don't see Ciri naked because the relationship you have with her is not that kind of relationship. But Ciri's fucking hot. The actress,
she's probably the hottest.
Ciri in Witcher, you said?
Yeah.
Witcher 3.
Yennefer from Vinterberg is also incredibly hot. Even though narratively the game makes it clear that like that's a spell. She's kind of like the witch from Game of Thrones, where like she's really not hot. Because like that's the thing about the Witcher lore is that there's all these like hot ass bitches that are not actually attractive. It's just that they're like 100-year-old, like they're witches. They're actually witches, so they cast like enchantment spells to make them look like Victoria's Secret models.
Hey, I don't give a fuck, man. I would bang the shit out of a hot witch if she was ugly as fuck.
But Ballard, you fuck her on a stuffed unicorn.
Yeah.
Woo! You know, I really didn't like her. I didn't like the scar on her face. I'd rather have the scars running down the tits.
Oh, that's Siri.
That's Siri. Look up Yennefer.
You'd rather have scars on the tits.
Yennefer of Vinterberg. Yennefer with a Y.
In Witcher 3, you said, right?
Yeah.
Did you not see Triss?
Not yet.
Triss is a spunky red.
Oh yes, I did. I didn't like her very much.
What?
Yeah, Yennefer I like though. I like Yennefer. You know what? Here's the problem with me. I'm looking into like, you show me a black-haired beauty with a raven-haired beauty with blue eyes or purple eyes, I'm like gold. You know, I'm like in that. I want to put out there every woman working at the Vanilla Unicorn.
What's that?
That's the Spearmint Rhino in GTA.
Yeah, no, yeah, they were all amazing.
They're very well rendered.
Cheetah doesn't like to go home and have sex, guys.
I haven't actually said any. I'm going to throw out some old school ones. I'm Sonya Blade.
She's good.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many games from like those Japanese games that we've touched upon tonight, and games I've never played. There's so many big titted women. Like the DOA series is like every chick has huge tits and they play volleyball. I don't ever understand that series.
I don't understand how that movie or that game became a movie.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Like
didn't
that
really.
doesn't make any fucking sense. Well, I gotta say, Sonya Blade was hot, but you know, she was no Cammy from Street Fighter.
That's my next one.
I was going to mention her too. It was
Cammy
the
next.
outfit, the legs exposed, the ponytail.
Well, what it did
She
for
had
cosplay.
She had camo pantyhoses. Remember that? That was like
Sometimes.
pantyhose. It was like taupe pantyhose with like darker taupe camo on it.
I'm a sucker for that like knee-high 80s aerobic sock.
Basically, yes. That is what she's wearing is what
Yeah.
the hottest chicks in the 80s. Basically, she wears what the chick from that Call on Me video wears as like her fighting costume. Love that.
Yeah,
love,
I would say
love
I would say
aerobics asses.
Cammy's in my top 3.
She's my number 2.
All right, well then, okay, we got a good number I think right now. So
Yeah.
why don't we start like at least trying to figure out this list right now?
I think we all know what number 1 is.
It's not Lara Croft for me. Actually, number 1 for me is going to be Quiet. We've already touched on her. I know it's not super
Okay.
exciting, but yeah, no,
She's fine too.
For me, it was Yennefer of Vinterberg, Cammy, Quiet.
I see. I gotta go Chloe, and then I'll go Cammy, and then I'll actually go Yennefer. And I've never played Witcher, but I thought Yennefer was very hot.
You guys are both not acknowledging the Pamela Anderson of the bunch.
Who's that one?
He's talking about
Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, man.
No, you can't. Lara Croft for me is like amazing, and she is the Pam Anderson of the bunch for sure. But I think you said it best, Noli, in the text when you said that's way too obvious.
It is way too obvious.
No, it's not way too obvious for me. It's the fact that Lara Croft used to be represent like a, almost cartoonish Jessica Rabbit-like physique of tits and ass and body. And that's why they got Angelina Jolie to play her. But Lara Croft as a name don't mean that no more. It means a chick with B cups at biggest, maybe even A cups, who's wearing jeans and fully clothed and wearing like a jacket when she's cold rather than having her tits out. And played by, what's the chick from Ex Machina?
Alicia Vikander.
Alicia Vikander. That's Lara Croft now. And sorry, you're hot. You're hot, Alicia Vikander, but you're not number 1.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yes. Well, I'm getting rid of the B cups. I'm going back to the 90s style of just tits because that Lara Croft is amazing. She paved the way for all these chicks we're talking about.
Well, the actual actress who the modern Lara Croft is based off of is the chick. She was in the latter seasons of Californication where she did show her tits. That's who the voice and model is based off. And she is fucking hot. But
really?
The fact that,
she was the one that was fired, right?
She was like the nanny for the bald guy.
Yeah, but no. I don't mean in Californication. She was fired as Lara Croft.
Yeah, she was fired as Lara Croft.
Is that because of Californication?
No, it was because of they want to use Alicia Vikander as the voice in the third.
Oh, so that she's gone.
Yeah, she's gone now.
In Shadow of the Gay Raid or whatever it's called, it's going to be Alicia Vikander.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, tie it in with the movie, but yeah, they fired her, and they fired
They didn't fire. She'd already done Californication before they hired her.
Californication is like 10 years old.
Yeah,
there was another Lara Croft model, not for the game. Not like doing voice for the game or body work for the game, for the digital artist, but she was like a model hired by the video game company to be the official Lara Croft model to show up at like conventions and shit. And she was fired for something. I forget what though. I can't remember.
Are you talking about the original and the true Lara Croft, Rona Mitra?
Ooh, she's good.
Yeah.
Wait, what was it? Rona Mitra? Was she the first Lara Croft?
The chick
model
from
that I'm talking
Doomsday.
about?
The chick from Doomsday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she got fired for
got
showing her
fired.
tits in Hollow Man, I think.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew somebody got fired for nudity. Okay, I hate that. That's fucking bullshit. Why would you fire a chick for hot tits?
They didn't really fire the voice of Lara Croft. They just kind of replaced her. But Rona Mitra got fired for showing her tits in Hollow Man.
That's a shame.
Yeah. Well,
so what's our top three? It's definitely Cammy's in there. It's definitely Chloe.
I don't agree Chloe should be on the list at all, but
Really, you don't think Chloe should be on the list? You don't think Chloe's fine?
So Chloe shows her ass in one brief cutscene in Uncharted 2, and then in Uncharted 3, which is the Uncharted that was directed by a woman, we don't really ever see her ass or really get a good look at her tits. She's kind of just there. I need a little bit more fan service, as it's called, to really judge whether or not that character's hot. Chloe's a woman. She's very pretty, but we're talking about hotties with bodies, and I got to see that body to know if it's a hottie.
Well, Chloe wears like a pretty tight red shirt and pretty tight cargos.
It's Chloe's on there.
Do you
She's
see her
definitely
tits?
in the top
Do you
three.
see her bare ass?
I have imagination. Imagination.
Okay.
It's the way I used to jerk off to Sears catalogs. Imagination.
I don't think I ever jerked off to a Sears catalog.
Yeah,
I don't think
Hustler.
I did too, but I definitely jerked off to like a swimsuit edition.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah. Swimsuit stuff was good. Yeah, back in the
Swimsuits.
day. Yeah, of course.
And Victoria's Secrets were my jam.
Macy's catalog.
Yeah, never that.
Tobin
Anyway,
Spirit Guide.
so we have
What?
Ballard. You always wrap it up great, Ballard.
Where did
Wrap
that
it
come
up.
from?
That's Ghostbusters.
I know. You said Macy's catalog, and then you said Tobin's Spirit Guide.
Yeah, I just felt like saying something from Ghostbusters.
Okay. Jacked as though you jacked off to it?
I jacked
probably
off to
did.
Ghostbusters all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the official list?
Dan Aykroyd,
Okay, it's Bill Murray.
Bill Murray, Harold Ramis. The list goes on. I
There
think
are
the
so
top
many hot
three-
chicks from The Witcher 3. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I really like Yennefer, honestly, and
Oh, yeah.
I kind of want to put her into the top three. And I'm just
No,
looking
if you played the game, she's so boring, dude. It's like fucking a dead fish. Yeah, throw her out. She's boring. She's a spell.
You can you can put Marigold. You can put Ciri.
This top three is pretty deep. So why don't we all say our top one, and then that will end up being our top three.
My top three was Cammy, Yennefer of Vinterberg, and Quiet. So Quiet's my pick for one.
Okay, so your number one's Quiet. Okay, Noli, what's your number one?
Quiet is one. Okay, I think my number one is Lara Croft, obviously.
Okay, well then, so if Felk's number one is Quiet, your number one is Lara Croft. I then have the option to pick between Cammy or Chloe. And even
Go
though I came up with
Chloe.
No, I gotta go Cammy.
Yeah, go
was
Cammy.
awesome.
Oh God, absolutely.
So I guess the top three this show will be in no particular order this time. Cammy, Chloe, and Yennefer. I'm just kidding. Okay, let's get into Love That Dong.
Love that dong. Love that dong.
As always, Love That Dong has us pick the number 1, 2, and 3 dongs from any genre or category, and tonight's is live action video game dongs. Actors who have played video game characters in live action, and the 3 we are picking are The Rock from Doom, Michael Fassbender from Assassin's Creed, and Jean-Claude Van Damme from the best video game movie of all time, Street Fighter.
Love that dong.
To me, it's
I gotta
obvious.
just say, This is very obvious, I think, on this one.
Jean-Claude Van Damme has the biggest dong of all.
I think it's Fassy. It's Fast Mike.
No.
Because the guy was walking around Shame with this huge fucking real dick.
Let me
in
tell
the
you though,
opening few minutes.
I heard all
Doesn't
this
matter.
shit about his real dick. I see it on screen. It didn't impress me.
Yeah.
No, it looked like a normal sized dick.
Well,
on a good day
wasn't that
with
normal
the right like diet and a nice hot shower, I could get the Fassbender. Like it wasn't that amazing.
Yeah, it's not that amazing.
Do you think Jean-Claude Van Damme in all those tight shorts doing splits has a bigger dick than Michael Fassbender?
Yes. I think those
Tight shorts doing splits. Jean-Claude Van Damme has a vagina, maybe a large clit.
No, The Rock has the smallest dick of all of them, clearly.
Does it?
because,
Oh, 'cause of steroids?
Yeah,
You know
I
what
feel
it
bad,
does.
but I have that feeling too. I feel like that he's probably not that big.
You don't walk into a gym with a big dick and go, I need to get biceps that are twice the size of my neck, you know?
They kind of reference the fact that he might have a small dick in Central Intelligence. Not the actor, obviously, but the character he's playing, because when they show him with as a young kid in high school, he's all fat and everything. He's all worried about his dick size, and they all laugh at his tiny dick or whatever.
Well, his upcoming role in Jumanji isn't the character is entirely about him having a small dick, and that's why he plays
Oh, it is.
Jumanji.
I read about that too. I heard about that.
It sounds like Fassbender wins by default just because Van Damme has a clit and The Rock did steroids.
I think Van Damme's probably number one just because he's Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Hello, Casey.
Yeah. Hello,
Have
Jean-Claude.
you seen Hard Target? You don't punch a snake if you've got a small dick.
You don't.
Yeah, you also don't kick gas cans into people and shoot it if you have a small dick.
They wanted to hunt the most dangerous animal, and the most dangerous animal was man, but they made the mistake of hunting too dangerous of animal. They hunted Jean-Claude Van Damme, who fights with his dick.
So Jean-Claude wins.
Yeah.
Then.
Okay, so it goes Jean-Claude, The Rock, then Michael Fassbender.
No, Fassy is 2, then The Rock. The Rock's 3rd. Steroids mean 3. Steroids means you're the smallest.
Did we establish on a previous episode that steroids don't shrink a dick, or they do?
It's unclear. The science is out.
Okay, so we'll guess it does.
Yes.
It definitely shrinks.
I actually thought it didn't, that it shrunk your balls, but you said it shrinks your dick too. Or maybe Ballard did, I don't remember.
I am a doctor.
I have no information on steroids and dick shrinkage. I can tell you that right now. I don't know.
I've never taken
He is-
steroids.
He is a 6'5" Samoan half black man. I would assume he could have a big dick, but
Yeah, I would think so too. Be honest. I mean, I would think that like his
Samoans are
size.
huge
I don't
people.
know. He sings in Mona. He hits those high notes.
Moana?
Moana, whatever.
Oh, that fucking Disney movie Mona.
Okay, so what is it, Ballard?
Well, I think the list then just simply goes, it goes Jean-Claude, Rock, Fassbender.
Okay.
Because I think if you have a giant clit, like that's pretty impressive feat right there. All right, so let's get into the Would You Rather this week.
Tonight's Would You Rather has you decide whether you would like to take a 100 Japanese men bukkake or a 10 tauntaun bukkake. And that, of course, references the mythical horse-ish creature from Star Wars, the tauntaun, and, of course, the Japanese man. Not sure why we need to specify that the men are Japanese, as though that affects the quality of the semen.
Well, it relates to the show topic being Japanese video games, and it relates to the inventors of the bukkake.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And where does tauntauns come into that?
I just thought a tauntaun bukkake might be just gruesome.
I honestly, I gotta say, like, the answer for me is very obvious. I would go with the 10 tauntaun bukkake because,
no.
personally, I would love to A, be on Hoth, B, I love cold weather.
No, you have no idea
and
where you
C,
are.
I get a fantasy creature, 10 of them, all coming on my face.
First off, this says nothing about location, so the location's not a factor. So as far as you should be concerned,
Tauntauns live on Hoth. They don't live anywhere else.
giraffes live in Africa, but I can just see one at the LA Zoo because you can take them from one place to another. You can put a tauntaun on a boat and ship it somewhere. So no, as far as you're concerned, these are both just happening in a nondescript warehouse where they either bring in 100 men or 10 tauntauns. Location, you don't go to them.
It's a dark basement in Burbank.
Yeah.
So then tell me this then. Is it at least air conditioned?
Well, that doesn't affect. Does that affect which one you pick?
Yeah, it will absolutely will affect which one I pick.
It's air conditioned, but the air conditioning is turned on to like 80. So it's already a pretty hot day.
10 tauntauns. 10 tauntauns.
You realize a horse can fill up like a 5-gallon bucket.
That's yes. No, for me,
tauntauns are like a little bit more mythical. They could probably fill up a 20-gallon bucket.
Are there 20-gallon buckets?
So for me, it's obviously 100 Japanese men because, yeah, exactly. Tauntaun is an unknown factor. You want to eliminate as many variables as possible. And you know that 100 Japanese men, how long they're going to take, and which is pretty quick. They're an efficient people. And that I assume that their semen loads would also be efficient. Whereas tauntauns, God knows, that could be days. You don't know how long that would take, and you don't know how much it's gonna get to you. I know that Japanese men's cum is only gonna rest on my skin and maybe soften it a little bit, but it's not gonna do anything. What if tauntaun semen, the sperms like can dig into you? What do you can feel them moving on you? You don't know when you're dealing with a fictional animal. So
hey,
it's 100
more
Japanese
fun,
men.
more fun then, I think.
Yeah. I agree with Phil. I think I'm taking 100 loads from Japanese guys. I know where it's coming from. I know what it tastes like. I know the smell of it. I want it. I don't know. Tauntaun's too crazy for me.
You don't
I
know
think
what
that's
it smells
actually wrong, because what I would prefer is that I would take, if you had AC, like if you put me in a warehouse with AC and I had like about, like a 60 to 70 degree temperature going on in there, I can handle 100 men coming on me, I guess. Because, I can relax a little bit.
It's the same temperature with the tauntauns.
No, but you said an 80 degree central heating.
It's
for
climate
warehouse.
controlled to 80 degrees either way, no matter which one you picked.
Well, then I'm definitely going 10 tauntauns, because I'm assuming like a horse or a giraffe or any other wild creature on this planet Earth, they come really fast. So I'm assuming they're going to get like, 3 jerks going, and then they're just blowing their 20-gallon tank loads all over me. And then I get to, be done faster. I can go wash off. Plus, if it is 20 gallons of semen, that's got to be a cooling effect right there. All that liquid, like a shower. Even though it's probably coming out at 98.6 degrees.
Exactly. We don't know much about tauntauns. That's the thing. That's why I don't like it, because it's an unknown quantity. There's too many variables we don't know the answer to. But we do know that tauntauns run hot as a species, because that is a plot point.
Yeah, because Han does shove, Luke's dick into the tauntaun.
And he survives all night. He survives for 6 hours.
By the way, just to get on that for a second, where does Han stay?
He stayed at the Holiday Inn next door.
Because in that shot later, it looks like Han built a tent for him. So did Han set up a shelter and he just shoved Luke in temporarily, or did he shove in Luke all night long in that tauntaun?
I always assumed that Han had a tent for the night, but he was only putting Luke in the tauntaun because the tauntaun was hot and Luke was almost dead from hypothermia.
Okay, that's kind of like how I always thought of it too.
It was just to bring him up to temperature until he could get like a camp set up with like a heat element.
Okay, but it seems like for the most part for fans, they tend to think that Luke was in that tauntaun all night long.
Yeah,
I guess, and so I always thought that tent that you see the next morning is where they spent the night together, probably snuggled up a little bit in one sleeping bag.
God, it's no. Oh, and tauntauns smell bad on the outside, but they really smell bad on the inside. So how bad do you think their cum smells? Japanese men's cum probably don't smell any more than my cum.
I think Japanese men cum probably smells like lavender, and I think tauntaun cum probably smells like fresh roses.
Oh, Nolan, you called me gay every episode, including this one, and yet every single question is about swallowing or at least enjoying cum.
I disagree.
I know. I think he even vetoed one of mine, which was, would you rather eat a hot dog coming out of a pussy or eat or suck a dick in a hot dog bun? And he was like, that's too gay.
Jesus Christ.
Need more dong.
All right. Well, let's take us out of the show at this point, I guess.
Well, Cool Boy Nation, that brings us to a close for tonight. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at @CoolBoysPodcast. Email us at thecoolboyspodcast. And be sure to subscribe and like us on YouTube. You can find us at The Cool Boys Podcast on YouTube. And also be sure to review us. Oh, and be sure to rate and review us on iTunes. For additional content, be sure to subscribe to us on Patreon at patreon.com/coolboyspodcast. Thank you for listening, Stay cool, Cool Boy Nation. Bye, Z's.
That's Bizees from me.
And this is Bizees for Nolan.
You outstanding American boy.
You have excelled in all things.
I pump while I dump. Oh, yeah.
So cool.
Oh, yeah. So cool.
Oh, yeah.
So cool.
Get out of here, damn silly. Get out of here!
Oh, yeah.
This episode of the Cool Boys podcast was brought to you by. We were streaming to YouTube.
Yay! Well, someone was. I got to see an amazing episode of Cool Boys, I guess.
Yeah, I'll double check
And
that, make sure that was never.
And did video go live too, or just audio?
Video live too. Video live
Video
too.
Oh
live
my
too, yeah,
God.
yeah. So me bouncing my ass into the camera.
I just got this email. We are streaming live. Look at there are pictures of us sitting there in our pajamas.
Awesome.
I deleted that so.
It's gone.
Yeah,
I'm gonna save this email. That's for sure.
Get some
Cool Boys.
so serious.